Deborah's going to be talking to us about dreams. Where's Miss Deborah?
Okay, I'm unmuting myself.
Let's unmute you. Hi, Deborah. And we do have your computer on a solid surface, right?
It's on an, yeah.
Not on your lap, on a solid table, right?
It's on an ottoman.
Okay, as long as it's not on your lap.
Yeah.
Welcome, Deborah.
The last time I was here, I gave a PowerPoint because there's a lot of particular things to know about dreams in general. Oh, I just wanted to say, I had a reading with Roy last time, and the song he gave me was Whitney Houston, "The Greatest Love," and I've kept listening to it and kept listening to it, and it really, 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 I finally understood the message from it, and it's amazing to me that he does that. So I just wanted to give him a plug. I was trained in a method for understanding dreams, and it's anti-intellectual, in meaning that we don't quite analyze the dream. It's more experiential, and it's about seeing the images and embodying them in your body, and feeling the emotion that comes up as an association to the image, and then finding where in your life right now are you feeling that. Of course, dreams deal with the unconscious mind, and we want to find out what the unconscious is telling us. And often the unconscious speaks a totally different language. It's kind of rude or brutal sometimes. And I think if it didn't disguise itself in the dream, that a lot of the times we maybe just not even be able to take it. The message can sometimes be very insulting, but it will show you something that you're repressing. And it's important to know that, because if you don't know it, you may act it out in your life. I think Jung said, Carl Jung, famous, I call him Daddy, my spiritual guru. He said, what you don't make conscious on the inside happens outside of you as fate. So you find, you'll just explode about something when you're triggered. And if you had understood the dream you had the night before, which was a warning about that, you wouldn't have done that. And maybe you caused a problem with a relationship or a job or something. So really, we are so unconscious that our ego sees life, on one particular focus. And our ego is, who we think we are, if we were to describe ourselves, what our roles in life are. But the other anti-ego figures in the dream are really the ones that are giving you the message. So I was just going to try to talk casually about two dreams I had that were part of my initiation into this work. And these dreams happened in the 80s when I first really became spiritually aware through a crisis, as often we do. And I was suffering from a heartbreak. My lover, who I adored, fell in love with somebody else. And it brought up a real paralysis in me. I was almost dysfunctional. And it was dreams that really kind of saved me and put me on a new path, totally changed my life. I went to an astrologer at the time, and she told me exactly what was happening. It was a Pluto transit, and it was wiping out anything in my life that wasn't going to really serve who I was. And I guess that included this man that I adored. But it also harked back to my childhood, well, my adolescence. My father died when I was an adolescent. He had a breakdown, and it was very traumatic in the household. And my mother just went on, put one foot in front of the other. She was very strong. And we never collectively grieved as a family with my siblings or anything. So I didn't know that that would be connected to me 25 years later. But it says, well, let me just tell you the dream. The astrologer had said to me, you're going to be lifted out. You can't do anything about this pain. Put a blanket over your shoulders and get in a rocking chair and sit by the fire. I was living in Maine at the time. And just wait, because you'll be lifted out. And when you're lifted out, you'll be a new person. And I didn't even know what all that meant. But I had a dream. I lived near the beach, and I had a dream of, I was on the beach with my son, who was about 7 years old. And no one else was on the beach, and it was a beautiful day and a beautiful beach. And way down at the end of the beach, we could see a woman, and kind of an old woman, and she seemed to be flying a kite. And we were walking towards each other. And when I woke up in the morning, I said, oh, I had that dream about the beach because I got that postcard yesterday from a friend in New Zealand, and it was of a beautiful beach. That's called day residue. We often dismiss something because, oh yeah, I dreamt about that because I just saw that. But it always has a deeper meaning. So it wasn't the postcard beach, but it was my beach. And this, I'm walking with my son, and in the distance we see this old woman in a babushka, and she kind of reminds me of my Polish grandmother, who was very religious, very spiritual woman. And we can see that she's flying a kite, and so my son is jumping all over the place saying he wants to fly the kite, and very excited about it. And the closer we get to her, she's looking more and more severe. And I say, okay, you can ask the lady if you can hold the kite. And she draws her hand away, and she says, no, kind of just with an expression in her eyes. And she hands the kite to me, and she says, this is for you. And so we look up, and it is not an inanimate object, but it's a live vulture that is flying. And so I back away, and I'm like, no way, I don't want this vulture, and this is horrible. And my son is going, well, take it, Mom, please take it. And I keep shaking my head and backing away. And she kind of looks at me like, honey, this is yours. You better take it. So that was the dream. And of course I thought about it from the point of view of my ego. Yeah, I didn't want that vulture. What was that vulture? Was it my pain, or what was it? I really didn't understand. But most of us that can look up to amplify the image, look it up in the encyclopedia or whatever, and a vulture, right, is a bird that feeds on the dead. But they also make kind of a compost out of what they feed on. And so I didn't see it at the time as the significance of a vulture with underworld sort of wisdom, because also vultures guide the people through the underworld. And in a lot of Egyptian mythology, you can see them guarding a doorway. So it was a threshold crossing type of idea. And in the Jungian sense, the image came from my collective unconscious. I didn't know really too much about archetypes or what birds meant. And the simple dictionaries often emphasize particular definition of what that thing is. And so it eats carrion and transforms it into vital energy. It's a very significant symbol in alchemy. Also, I looked it up and said it was an ambivalent symbol of maternal protection and shelter. And so that was totally different from what I would have thought a vulture was. And so, as a scavenger, it represents a purification. And a mother goddess. And dreams, birds and dreams, well, we often think about flying in dreams, and birds and dreams are often spiritual. They're often about the higher octaves of where we are living in our mindset. Some birds are more harbingers of doom, the crow and an albatross. And I had thought that that's what the vulture was, but it really was a much more important symbol. It was basically saying, you've got to go back and look at this underworld journey that I actually did not consciously go through as an adolescent when my father died. And it was like sending me back to page 1 to process the first heartache, not the heartache that was happening then. That was just an overlay. And so I thought maybe I'd be lifted out of my black hole by understanding this dream a little bit more. My son, of course, the dream is always a projection, and I had projected onto my young son, what would a young boy's energy be? Well, they're outgoing, they're adventurous, he wants to participate with the vulture, and that's an aspect of me too. So part of me knows that I should take it, and then the old woman herself, kind of a crone, that reminded me of my grandmother, but also kind of, I used to have some bag lady dreams, and I was afraid she was kind of like a bag lady, but she really wasn't. She was a guide that needed to tell me exactly what I could do about this. So it was important to embody those other figures, my son and the old woman and the vulture itself. And I began to see an analyst, and decided, yes, I have to go back to this place in my adolescence. And so that was one dream that happened then. And I'm just looking at some notes here. And then I wanted to just tell you this other one, because they're both, they're similar. And I think they emphasize how important it is to look at the other figures in the dream and not just what the ego is thinking. So in the second one, which came a couple of weeks later, I was walking on the beach again. I used to walk the beach every day. So that was not unusual. And this time I was with an adolescent girl, and she was like my charge. I had to take care of her. I was babysitting her or something. You know, I'm in my 30s at the time. And she's being very annoying, kind of whiny. I don't want to be with her. She's cranky and kind of nagging me, and I just find that she's a pain in the neck. At some point, she steps on a twig and gets a splinter in her foot, and then she's really upset. And you know, despite my resistance, I tried to take the splinter out of her foot. And as I do, I pull it back, and it turns into this giant kind of boomerang thing and flies and hits her right into the forehead. And her head splits open, and this is so weird. It was not gory or anything, but it was like a surreal plane, like a Salvador Dali painting or something. Her head opened up, and out of that came this huge eagle. And I look at the girl, and she looks at me, and we just start laughing and hugging, and as we see this eagle take off from her head. And I could actually feel in the dream, like as if I had wings on the back of me, just that motion of taking off like that. And it was a real release. And I loved the ending, that we were both laughing and hugging each other. And it was obvious that I was going to have to take care of my adolescent girl, and that she could be transformed into something very, very strong. And I felt this very deep love for the girl at so the dream was a tremendous release, and I didn't want to be with this girl at 13 or 14 years old, which is basically when I went through the problems with my father. And it seemed to me that the wound of my abandoning boyfriend and the wound of the father were overlaid, and had thrown me back to this adolescent girl who had never healed. The enormous wings of the eagle just, it just was so empowering, and it was so joyful. And that was not something I was feeling at all consciously in my life at the time. I was very depressed. And then, after you sort of embody the dream, then you can look up some more deeper meanings of what in other religions in other countries, what an image symbolizes. So the American eagle, it's a Native American symbol related to celestial omnipotence, power. It's associated with the sun. In mythology, it's Zeus's companion, and he is the patriarch of the gods up there. And to the Christian mystics, it's Jesus's ascension into heaven. It also was related to John the Evangelist. And Jung calls it a father symbol. That really freaked me out when I saw that, because it actually named a father. And a combination of a couple of other places I looked, it said the eagle is a release from bondage. It's part of the primal material in alchemy, which is the material that gets converted. And it also represented resurrection or a new life. So there's this transformation in the dream of this head wound that gets kind of instantaneously healed and then releases this eagle. And it was only later, sometime later, that I found another association to it in the story of Oedipus. And you've probably heard of the Oedipus complex, and that was something Freud wrote about before Jung. But I was teaching, I'm a writer and a teacher, and I was teaching at the Massachusetts College of Art. And one of the things I had to teach was the story of Oedipus. And Oedipus, as a baby boy, is shackled to a rock with a pin through his foot. And he's left to die by his parents because there was a prediction from the oracle at Delphi that said to him, "You're going to kill your father and marry your mother." Probably the worst oracle you'd ever want to hear about. And so the parents got rid of him because they didn't want that to happen. And he gets adopted by another king and queen. But the foot wound itself is, Freud associated the foot with the phallus. Okay, so the male member had to do with sexuality. And it also had to do with the father. So again, I had this association to the father through the foot wound, because in the dream, the girl's foot was wounded by that splinter, which turned into this like axe. And so they leave Oedipus to die because of the oracle's claim. And when he escapes and he gets adopted and goes to the oracle later in life and is told he's going to kill his mother and marry his father. And he ends up actually doing that without knowing it. But the whole idea of it being associated with sexuality and relationship, that the wound I was feeling from the boyfriend who left me and the wound of my father kind of overlaid in the images of this girl's splintered foot and all the associations that come around that. I felt so clear and relieved. I actually thought that, okay, this is the moment the astrologer told me about. I'm lifted out now. Actually, it took quite a few months more, but it was one of those times in my life when everything was synchronistic. Numerology kept popping up, and I was absolutely fertile with amazing dreams. My point is that the message will often come from the other things in the dream, not from what you think the dream is. Because most people who ask me about their dream will say, well, yeah, but I felt this way, and I was in charge, and I was driving the car, and but it's really what happens with the other aspects of the dream that will actually lead to some kind of understanding of it. So the process that I work with is with closed eyes. It's kind of a meditation, and we re-enter the dream. We discuss the dream in the present tense as if it's happening right in that moment. And I question the dreamer, and the dream kind of shifts sometimes because, of course, when we try to remember a dream, it's always very elusive. But when you sit with it for a half an hour or more with closed eyes, moving around there, all sorts of interesting things happen. And the dream often reveals itself to have multiple layers of meaning. And feeling it in your body really makes a difference because you immediately associate it to some kind of a memory. And so sometimes we have to become aware of our bodies first if anything is hurting, or because something might happen in the process that will trigger something in the body, and we want to make sure that that's related to the dream. So those were the two bird dreams, and I just wanted to, because I can't really do the process right now. We could, but it's very slow moving, and so it really isn't something unless you can participate in it to really feel what it is like. But I'm often surprised that it turns out to be exactly the opposite of what you think it is, because we put our ego takes it and makes it into a narration, into a story, into a number of scenes, or just one scene, whatever it is. And as we move in through the imagination is really the healing tool here, the healing function, because I can say, okay, can you, using this dream, for example, can you reach out and hold on to the string that's holding up that vulture in the sky? And when you imagine that, you actually can get a physical feeling that it may be not what you thought it was, but suddenly you have a pain in your chest, or you have congestion around your head, and then asking, where in your life do you know this feeling? Have you had it before? And it often connects to something that's happening in your life, like right now. So it's a fascinating process, and I just love looking at dreams because they're so wise, and they're like connecting in all sorts of ways and collating things that you did during the day. And I always recommend that you try to remember your dream by setting an intention, writing the intention down. Thank you, Spirit, for giving me a dream tonight. I actually made up a prayer. And then if you have a phone and can record it, you don't even need to open your eyes when you wake up and you're trying to remember the dream. And I also have advised that you don't move, that you stay in the same position for a few minutes, because there is actually an energy body that is the dream body. That I think we actually go somewhere when we dream. Our energy body does, and that will hold the memory a little bit longer before it, you know, gets so elusive and disappears. And then you can kind of write it down in by scenes. I think we impose a narrative on it. I think maybe it's all happening at the same time, the images, but inevitably we make it into a story because we love stories. And then I suggest that you memorize it, and then with your eyes closed, we can talk about it scene by scene, and I can ask, you don't even have to tell me the personal things in your life. I'll just say, is that a feeling that you know? And he's like, oh yes, I know that. And it could relate to some trauma that you're going through, but you don't have to talk to me like I'm your shrink. You don't have to tell me what it is. We can still work with that energy and heighten it. And often the dream will have two poles. It'll have a place that is safe and comfortable. And we try to get a feel for that safe place first, because we might want to go back to it when we're hitting the places with the highest tension. And I think it was, I can't think of the philosopher's name, but he said everything is born out of tension. I think it was Heraclitus, the tension of opposites. And the tension of opposites will create something new. So sometimes something new actually happens in the active imagination. You know, suddenly I'll ask you to feel the safe place and feel the painful place or the scary place at the same time. And a new image pops up that unites those two things. It's very interesting. I've seen it happen in very unexpected ways. So that is pretty much what I was going to tell you today. I'm writing a book on dreams. I'm almost finished with it, and I am a writer, and I'm getting my dream website up and going. So I hope to contribute a bunch of essays and a little bit of a symbol dictionary. And what else is really great was that I was trained with a group of people. There were 8 of us, and we met every week for 4 years. And I didn't know these people at all. I knew them from their unconscious minds later. And interesting things happen when you do it in a group. So I like to facilitate groups. I like to do an intensive weekend sometimes. But it, of course, works very well just one-on-one. I don't know if anyone would like to ask me any questions about imagery. We talked a little bit about it last time, a couple of weeks ago. And just looking here. I want to give away a dream session, but what we would have to do was, you know, if you didn't have a dream ready, you'd have to create one and incubate it. I call that incubating it. Visualize a problem in your life or something in your life that is emotionally important to you. And just every night before you go to bed, visualize that problem, one scene from it. And then whatever you dream, and you may dream something completely different that has nothing to do with the people or the reason for that problem, but you'll have a dream. And actually, after we process the dream, we'll find out it did have to do with the issue that you were thinking about. And that's kind of miraculous too. So Sheri, are you there? I don't know
Yes,
where.
yes, I am. You have time, Deborah. You have until 3 o'clock.
Oh, I know, and I just didn't want to keep lecturing, but so I was hoping that someone might want to ask about a dream.
Okay, so let's open up.
Please.
Let's open up the floor then. Let's. Anybody have a question?
Yeah, Thomas Rennie has.
Okay, I've got a dream in the chat. How can we tell the difference between a dream and a visit to the other side of the veil? We do have those visits. The last time I was here, I talked about different kinds of dreams, and I call those numinous dreams, when they really that presence of that other person or spirit is often there, literally there. How do you tell the difference? I think it's really just in your own emotional response. People know when they have a big dream. And if you think that that is a visitation, and you know that person, or there's been a message that was given to you that resonates, there's no doubt that it is a visitation. And how do you know? You know by your feeling. And you can amplify your feeling, because you might feel a little ambivalent about it if you're coming at it with your head. See, we try to get out of our heads. But if you're coming at it through your body and general symptomatic feelings, you can heighten how it feels, and that will raise the possibility that you'll understand the message more too. So it's all about feeling, and feeling is not intellectual. It's physical. So that's how I would answer that question. Anyone have a dream?
Thomas, do you have a dream that you would like to ask?
I guess not.
Anybody here? Let's see what the messages are.
The other side of the veil he's talking about, yes. People who recently passed often will come visit. They haven't quite settled down in their new reality. So those dreams are especially important and reassuring. I think they're very reassuring to all of us.
When a loved one comes back in a dream?
Yeah, just they want to tell you that they're okay, and it's an expression of love, I think. Of course, there is such thing as ghost, which we put a negative spin on, but it's not necessarily negative. But the spirits on the other side are trying to figure their stuff out too, and it's not like it. You take what consciousness you've had collectively through all your lifetimes with you when you pass, but you may not have, like ghosts are upset because they left in a hurry, or they were hurt, or something happened. And in fact, my mother had an experience with my father coming back that was kind of uncanny. I was away at college by then, but she said he walked right in the room and sat down on the bed and just looked at her as if to say, everything's going to be all right. But it was 2 years later, and I think he was trapped because of the way he died. He died of an overdose, and I think he was trapped in that plane where I think it's the fourth dimension where the ghosts are. It's the confusion confused spirits. And then my younger brother and sister were in the house, and they both got up and said that they dreamt of him at the same night. So yeah, they have.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, sure.
I have a client who's in real estate, and when she was in the house, one of the pictures fell off the wall randomly. And the person that died had an unexpected death, a surprised unexpected death. And she was young. So we kind of feel that she's trapped between the planes and she's not letting go because she didn't really expect to die. And the fact that this picture randomly fell off the wall about living and loving and laughing. And she's like, what do I do to move the energy? I'm like, apparently she's trying to communicate with somebody and she got your attention. But, you know, she doesn't know how to communicate this with the family and how to help them go to the next level. So I think they're ready for a communication with the daughter.
Well, you know, there are people who specialize in that, mediums.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to them too. My father comes through all the time now. But yeah, and it's so interesting that you say the picture fell off the wall, because that is not the first time I've heard that. I think they'll go anywhere where they can make that energy move something. And that seems to be an easy place to identify it. But as far as what they want to do, did she pass a long time ago, or is it
Recently?
Yeah. I think they could work out a ritual where they'll visualize her and move her to a higher plane and send her love, and that she would feel that, and it would shift, because yeah, you need to. I felt that my father was trapped for a while, and I had nightmares for a couple of years. And actually, the way I got beyond it was I wrote a 20 poems sequence of what I imagined his afterlife was, based on many principles of the Course in Miracles. So I actually had it be that he created a hell for himself, and I think that's what hell is. It's our own. It's your feelings manifest very quickly on the other side. So if you're scared, and you suddenly in a scary place, and he had to learn to love all the different aspects of him that were suffering. Love does it all, you know. It's just all about love. And I think just praying for someone and seeing them in the most healthy, loving state of their being, because that is they are that. We all have a perfect ideal self, and we can project it a little more by just visualizing it and sending love. I think that's what prayer is. It's interesting that you mentioned that she was in real estate. I was wondering if that was related.
Related in what way?
I don't know, the house where the picture fell or something.
That was her house.
Oh, it was her house. Yeah. Well, I think accepting it and loving it, and loving her and seeing her in a healed body and soul, you can make a very specific landscape, you know, that you can imagine, put them there, send them love. And I think if you do that steadily, it will transform. My sister died a year ago, and I have some of those candles that have a little battery in them, and they look like they're candles, but they're not. And the morning after her memorial service, I got up and those candles were on in my living room. I didn't turn them on. They often have an electrical energy. I've heard of certain stereos being turned on, and often there was the funniest story. There was that song, "Don't Worry, Be Happy," and you could buy this thing and put it on your door. And this is in the 90s sometime. It was kind of a popular gift for a while. And I was with a friend, and her mother died at 5 a.m. that morning, and this thing went off. We only connected it later. It went off about 5 a.m. and it's a motion director, conductor, and nobody had been up and walking by the door. And it was right around the exact time that her mother died. So this energetic release around that, I guess. What can I do to help avoid waking up during a dream or during a visit? Sometimes I get started and break the connection.
Startled.
Oh. Avoid waking up. I don't know, other than setting the intention that doesn't happen. We often wake up with the dream in the middle of the night. The dream will sometimes wake us up. And I'm not sure how you can control that. I think, again, it's just all about intention and self-love and asking or affirming that doesn't happen. Also, sometimes people will say, well, I woke up and so I didn't get the ending of the dream, and it was right in the middle of it. And my feeling is that that's as much as you were supposed to get. That there's a message there, and if it's that important, what you think you're missing, you'll probably have it again. A lot of it is just really trust and faith. I'm not psychic per se, but I have, my third eye is open, and I see things. But I see that with loving energy, you can change things. I see spirits moving around often if I wake up in the middle of the night. So I'd love to work with anybody's dream. And if you don't have one today, if you just remember me and give me a call, I can put my phone number in the chat and just take it down, because you never know, you might have a big one. And
Why is everybody so shy? Let's see if we have any new people that just joined us in the room. So if anybody's just joining us, Deborah DeNicola is a dream interpreter. She can help you understand your dreams or your nightmares, even from your children or yourself. I'm sure that children have reoccurring dreams that no one's really brought up yet. And you can also talk about that. So we have a lot of new people that joined us in the room. If you'd like to ask Deborah a question, just unmute yourself. We got 10, 15 more minutes.
a lot of people are having COVID dreams or fears about that.
Hello.
Yes. Please introduce yourself. You have a question, Nicole?
Yeah, I have a recurring dream that somebody's chasing me and they're trying to harm me, and I always get away, but I wonder why I don't stand up for myself and fight back, and then I just run away, and then before they get me, I wake up.
Yeah, that's a fairly common anxiety dream. But see, I wouldn't really tell you what it means. We could work on it imaginatively, and some information would probably come up. But that person who's chasing you is an aspect of yourself. So, are you criticizing? Are you criticizing yourself about anything? Or are you afraid of something in particular right now?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to hurt me, and I'm just running away. I'm not protecting myself.
So when you have the dream, remember, what did I do that day? Emotionally, how are you feeling that day? Because it's something you're doing to yourself.
Mm.
And that wants to merge with you and be made conscious. And fighting back adolescents will often have the fighting back dreams, but that's probably not going to make that dream go away. You need to catalog or write down every time that you have it, what went on that day, and then look at that like you would as 6 or 7 journal entries, and say, what do these have in common? I was mad at my mother that day, or something was disturbing that day, and try to seal all the emotions of that, and it will come out. It'll be like, yeah, it could be just that you're really hard on yourself. Maybe you're working on a project and you think you should be doing better, or you're worried you won't do well enough. But it's a self criticism type thing.
Mm.
So if it's a recurring dream, it probably doesn't happen all the time, but even if it only happens once a year, it would be nice to know what it is. And so it's worth processing a dream like that.
Yeah, it happens like every 3 months or so for the last 10 years. It's like I have the same dream.
Is there anything familiar at all about the figure?
No, it was like I had post-traumatic stress. It used to be like my mother. I used to have bad nightmares about my mother because I was abused. But then I had a ex-boyfriend that was abusive, and I had dreams about him for years. And then it just turned into somebody was trying to harm me, and I was running away, and I would wake up like with my heart pounding and be in the feeling of like trying to get away, and then realize, okay, this is not real. I'm safe now. I'm away from those situations, but it was coming to me in my dreams,
So,
that
so
fear.
first of all, too, dreams exaggerate because they want to get your attention. They'll make something a little bigger than it is. But how are you being abusive to yourself? It would be a question to ask. And it doesn't mean that, you're as abusive as other people have been to you. It's just like, again, a self-critiquing thing. Feeling I'm not good enough, or
Yeah, I have a lot of self-loathing and a lot of I've been working on self-love because I had a lot of self-hatred and that
yeah.
kind of thing
And
going on.
when we process a dream like that and we take it forward, we kind of sometimes dream on with it. So okay, so let's have you turn around, and you're going to be with your eyes closed, but have you turn around and reach out and touch this person, and say, what do you want? And see what happens in the imagination at that point.
Mm.
And you know what that probably wants is love. You got to love that part of yourself. And it's one thing to say that and then intellectually know that. And it's another thing to actually feel it in an imaginative state in a process where you get into that energy body. So
Yeah, I guess because I say I'm not that person, and I'm not the same person that would let people hurt me anymore.
mhm.
But some of that pain still exists, like in my subconscious.
Yes, it certainly is a residue for something that, you know, still hasn't gotten healed. But
Yeah.
it's also something that you're getting triggered by. So where in the day that you had that dream, what happened that day that might have triggered it? You might have been down on yourself about something, or
Mm.
yeah, worrying about something in particular. And if we can heal it in the process by having you reach out and feel the warmth and the love of that figure holding you and you holding it, and just say to yourself, you know, I'm sorry, I don't love myself as much, you know, and it's the imaginative process is really the healing part of it. Envisioning it, not just understanding intellectually.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And my experience of working in a dream group is that the whole group acts as the questioners, and you get a lot of different perspectives, and everybody has those same feelings, and the same processing a dream of someone else sometimes can help you just by observing it, because we all have those kind of complexes. And there also, maybe there's a very judgmental part of you that's judging something, or you have a bad attitude about something. All of those things can be flipped in the imagination and forgiven. We are very hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I
Have
mean,
compassion. That's a big one.
yeah, I've worked with people that there was this one scary figure, and he had this hat down over his eyes, so she couldn't really get a good look at him. And I said, why don't you go over and just ask him to take his hat off? And when he took his hat off, she immediately associated it to somebody that she knew. And then she understood what the problem was between them. And so a little bit of movement that is unexpected can work like that. I had a dream about a baby floating in a basket on a lake, and I was very, very upset and worried about this baby. And I was with two friends who kept saying, oh no, he'll be all right, he'll be all right. At the time I was contemplating moving and leaving my son with my husband for a while. And I felt real guilty about that. And so I thought, oh, well, that's what the dream is about. But it turned out that when I processed the dream, the couple that was saying, oh, the baby's going to be all right, I associated to two friends of mine who had the exact same names as my husband and his girlfriend. It was Jim and Michelle, but it was the Jim and Michelle that I dreamt about were as a couple that I knew, and Jim and Michelle, my husband and his girlfriend, were different people. And I didn't even get it until someone in the group said, well, it looks like your baby's going to be all right, because Jim and Michelle were going to take care of him, and they thought he was all right. So then they had me imaginatively go down to the lake, look in the basket and see how the baby was. And all these, in my imagination, all these snakes were dancing around the baby, but it wasn't dangerous. It was like a celebration. And I was afraid by the beginning of the dream that, you know, snakes and stuff from the nature was going to hurt the baby. And the baby was just smiling and gooing and having a great time. And I felt, okay, I've just been given permission to move. And I did move. And it worked out.
That's great.
Kind of strange, yeah. So it's 5:03. Probably take one more question if we had one. Well, I just want to say thank you, Sheri, for giving me a chance to talk about this. And I will put my information in the chat. So be in touch, anyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Would you like to offer your door prize?
Oh, sure. And what I was going to say was, if somebody wins it and they don't have a dream, that's okay. They can wait till they do, and I can email them my little prayer that I say before, and help them set the intention, and then I give away a 45-minute processing. Yes,
Well,
and
just like me, when I didn't think I had dreams, I was able to start having dreams.
the more you pay attention to them, the better, and the more it becomes. If you ignore them, they're like, well, he's not interested. So, but we do all dream, we just forget it. People deprived of sleep, a lot of it is the dreaming process that is the healing process. You know, we get worked on at night. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to think of a number, and
So
between
anybody would like a session with Deborah? Unfortunately, you have to be present to win. You have to be here in the Zoom room. If you're listening on YouTube or watching the replay on Facebook, sorry, you have to be here in the room to win. So put in the chat some weird, what number to what number, Deborah?
from 1 to 30.
0 to 30. Oh, we already got somebody who already made a bid and it's over 30. She changed it. Okay. Changed it. Okay.
Well,
We got some more people putting in their bids. This is The Price is Right. The closest number to what she wrote down wins. Deborah will be back again later on at 7 o'clock for a little while. Get your dreams ready.
oh, she's Alyssa. She says, I was the winner last time and was wondering how to get the session. Yes, I'm going to put my email and phone number in the chat, and just get in touch with me. Okay, so the number I put down, is everybody
Yes.
ready?
What number do you got?
22.
22. We got Nicole. 23.
Yay!
Yay.
Hey, Nicole, maybe we can find out who's chasing you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to put my name and email and phone number in here.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. So everybody out there who doesn't think you remembered your dreams, I also did not remember my dreams, but after I talked to her and she said, what's the first thing that you remember when you wake up? Just write it down, just make a mental note, whether it's one thing, just one little iota, you know, just remember that one tidbit, whether it's you looking at, you know, yellow flowers on the mountain, or you leaving your house naked, you know, those little symbolisms all mean something. So let her help interpret that. And if there's any parents out there who have children with reoccurring dreams and nightmares, Deborah can help you as well. And Deborah's an author of 6 books, and she's here for the next couple of hours in room number 13. She's going to do like a free 5-minute session if anybody has any questions. And then if you want to go deeper, it's $1 a minute to have a one-on-one with her. So take advantage of these great prices with all the practitioners here today. Okay? All right. Thank you, Deborah. And next, we're going to bring out Michelle. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi there. How are you?